The last time I saw Adrian Cole, I was standing in the rain with his taste still on my lips and goodbye in my throat. That kiss, it wasn't just a memory. It was a scar. A mark I carried like it was stitched into my skin. It's been 7 years. 7 years since that night in Venice, where the world fell away, and he promised forever with nothing more than a whisper. And just like that, he vanished. I thought I'd moved on. I buried myself in work, in silence, in other people's arms. I never let too close. I told myself it was over, that I didn't need closure, that maybe he never even thought about me again. But today, my past walked into the art gallery I now own like it had been invited. Lena. That voice. I froze. I turned and there he was. Older. Sharper. Undeniably more magnetic. Adrian wasn't just a memory anymore. He was real again. And those eyes, they still remembered me. My mouth, my kiss. I wasn't sure it was you, he said, hesitant, like he didn't want to break something fragile. I laughed. It came out cold. People tend to forget me, apparently. He winced, and I could see it. He hadn't expected me to still bleed. And I wasn't going to make it easy for him. Not after the way he left. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. I didn't forget you, Lena, he said quietly. Not for a single day. Lie. Or maybe worse, truth. I wanted to walk away. But instead, I looked at him and asked, "What do you want?" His answer came after a pause, a second chance. And, just like that, the room tilted. That night, I found myself replaying his voice, his presence, the way he looked at me like I was still everything. But then the memories came flooding back of the promises he broke, of the way he kissed me that night in Venice like it was a beginning, not a farewell. I shouldn't let him in. I knew that. But the heart doesn't obey logic, it obeys memory. And Adrian's kiss? It was a memory that never stopped burning. The next evening, he showed up again, this time with a painting. I bought this from a street artist in Italy. Said it reminded him of someone he once loved. Thought it looked like you, he said, setting the canvas down. It was me, unmistakably me. My face in brush strokes, under a moonlit sky. My hair caught in wind. My lips parted, as if waiting for a kiss. I felt the crack deep inside me widen. Why now, Adrian? Because I'm done pretending I can forget you. My pulse betrayed me. My resolve wavered. But just as he reached out, just as I swore, I could feel that kiss from 7 years ago, vibrating in the air between us. A voice called from behind. Lena, you're still here. I turned. It was Aaron, my boyfriend. My safe, dependable, gentle boyfriend. Adrian's hand dropped, his jaw tightened. And just like that, the fire between us met ice. I should go, Adrian muttered. And as he walked out, he looked back at me, not with jealousy, not with anger, but with something worse. Regret. That night, I lay beside Aaron, but my mind was nowhere near his steady breath or the familiar rhythm of our life. It was tangled in brushstrokes and moonlight, trapped in a kiss from 7 years ago that still hadn't let me go. Adrian's painting sat in the corner of the gallery, covered with a white cloth. Like a ghost I was too scared to face, but too obsessed to bury. Aaron noticed I was quiet. "You okay?" he asked, gently brushing my shoulder. I nodded, lied, just tired. But truthfully, I was drowning. How do you explain to someone that your past just showed up and your body remembered it before your mind could? The next morning, I came into the gallery early. I told myself it was for inventory, lighting, anything but what it really was for him. He didn't show. I hated how disappointed I felt by noon. I was staring at the painting again. My hand hovered over the cloth, and before I could stop myself, I pulled it off. There I was, in oil and pigment. The expression on my face wasn't peaceful. It was aching, longing. And suddenly, I remembered that night. The last one, we'd made love in a stranger's borrowed flat overlooking the canals. The lights from the water shimmered across his skin, and after, he kissed me like a promise, said, "Wait for me." But he never came back. Around 3 p.m., I locked the gallery early. I needed air. I needed silence. But what I found was him. Adrian stood across the street, hands in his coat pockets, watching, waiting. I didn't ask why. I walked up and simply said, "Why didn't you come back?" He looked wrecked. "Because I thought I'd die if I did." That stopped me. "What?" He ran a hand through his hair. "My father had a stroke. Everything fell apart. I had to take over his company overnight. I was 22 and suddenly responsible for 300 employees. I thought I'd come back once it's settled, but it never did. And after a while, I figured you'd moved on. That showing up would only hurt you more. So you made that choice for me?" His silence was his confession. You don't get to disappear and then rewrite the ending. I whispered, "I'm not trying to rewrite it," he said. "I'm trying to finish it." We ended up walking through the city. Familiar streets felt foreign beside him. Our hands didn't touch, but the space between them felt charged. "So, you're with someone," he said finally. "That guy, Aaron." I nodded. "Is it serious?" "Serious enough," I replied. I hated how brittle my voice sounded. He stopped walking. "Do you love him?" I looked away. "He's good to me." "That's not what I asked." Tears welled. "You don't get to ask me that." "I know," he said, "but I had to." He walked me back to the gallery. We stood at the steps like it was years ago, like we were 22 again and time hadn't unraveled us. "I shouldn't have left," he said, "and I know I don't deserve another chance. But if I don't say this, I'll regret it forever." I waited. "I still love you, Lena." And I never stopped. The world didn't spin. It shattered. He leaned forward, not to kiss me, but just to breathe against my skin, just enough to make my knees go weak. And then he whispered, "I never forgot your kiss, and I know now you didn't forget mine either." He turned and walked away. I didn't stop him, because I was still shaking. That night, I stood in front of the mirror in my bedroom, wearing a dress Adrian once picked out for me in Italy. I hadn't worn it in years. Aaron knocked on the door. "You look beautiful," he said. "Going somewhere?" I nodded slowly. "Yeah, I need some air." His smile faltered, and in his silence, I felt the question he didn't ask, and I didn't have the courage to answer. The sky was velvet black when I stepped outside, the city humming with a quiet pulse that matched the storm inside me. I didn't know where I was going. I just Walk. Every step felt like betrayal, every breath like a war between the woman I had become and the girl still holding on to a kiss that never let go. I found myself on the rooftop of the hotel Adrian used to stay at when he visited. The same place where he first told me he loved me between sips of cheap red wine and laughter that made the stars jealous. I don't know why I thought he'd be there, but he was, leaning against the railing, city lights burning below him, like he'd been waiting for the version of me that was brave enough to find him. You came, he said, turning slowly. I didn't plan to. I know. We stood there in silence, the kind only two broken people can share. I wanted to scream at him, hit him, fall into him, be anywhere, but in this twisted in-between where my heart knew what it wanted, but my life didn't know how to follow. I can't breathe around you, I finally said. Double quotes same. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded letter. I wrote this the week I left Venice. I never mailed it, but I carried it. All these years, I took it, trembling. The paper was soft, worn at the folds. I was going to give it to you that night, he said, but then I saw Aaron, and I realized maybe you had already found the version of happiness I couldn't give. I looked up. You think that's what happiness looks like? I don't know, he whispered. But it's not this, is it? Me, still ruining your peace after all these years. We sat on the cold rooftop ledge, the letter unopened in my hand. Do you remember the kiss? I asked softly. His laugh was broken glass. Lena, that kiss is the only thing that kept me sane some nights. Same. He turned to me. Then why are we pretending it didn't change everything? Because life moved on. Because we let it. But we're here, right now, still tethered. And then he leaned and it wasn't sudden. It was quiet, careful, like he was asking permission with every inch. Our lips met like no time had passed and every second had been unbearable without this. I gasped into him, and he pulled me closer like he was afraid I'd vanish again. This kiss wasn't a memory. It was a revival, a truth. An ache long overdue. When we pulled away, I was breathless, not from the cold, but from him. I'm not asking you to leave him, he said. Not tonight, not even tomorrow. I need to know if there's still something in you that belongs to me. I stood up. The city below spun slowly, or maybe it was just my heart. I don't know what belongs to who anymore, I said. But I know this, that kiss, it didn't feel like a mistake. Adrian stood. His voice dropped, low and wrecked. Then don't let it be one. Back home, Aaron was still awake, sitting in the living room, eyes bloodshot. The silence between us was heavier than anything Adrian ever made me feel. Where were you? He asked, out. I replied, with him. I didn't answer. That was answer enough. He stood, voice cracking. I knew, Lena. I knew the second I saw the way you looked at him, like your soul had been asleep for years and he was the one who woke it up. Tears welled. I never meant for this to happen, but you let it, he said, voice cold. You kissed him, didn't you? My silence shattered something in his eyes. I thought I was enough, he whispered. You were. I said, you are, just not in the way I needed. That night, I sat alone on the floor of my gallery. The painting Adrian gave me stared back, and I finally opened the letter. Inside was a single line, handwritten in his rushed, familiar scrawl. If love ever finds us again, I'll never run from it. I wept. Because love had found us. And now I had to choose whether I'd run. I didn't sleep that night. The letter stayed on my chest like a weight I couldn't lift. And the memory of Adrian's kiss kept looping like a song I couldn't stop humming. And Aaron, he didn't come to bed. When morning came, I found him packing. "Where are you going?" I asked, my voice rasped from crying. He didn't look at me. "Somewhere I don't feel like a placeholder." "Aaron, I'm not angry," he said, zipping his duffel. "Just done pretending you're mine." The truth was, I had loved him in a safe, quiet way. But love shouldn't feel like a routine. It should feel like a heartbeat, loud, reckless, impossible to ignore. And with Adrian, it was deafening. Aaron paused at the door. "I hope he's worth what you're about to destroy." When the door closed behind him, the silence was immediate and terrifying. Later that day, I sat alone in the gallery, staring at the painting of me painted by a man who knew how to see the parts of me I hid from everyone else. My phone buzzed. "Adrian, can I see you tonight?" I stared at the message for a long time. My fingers hovered over the screen like they didn't trust my heart to speak for them anymore. Finally, I typed, "Yes, my place." 8 p.m. when Adrian arrived. He didn't bring flowers or apologies. He brought wine. And an honesty in his eyes that made me want to weep. We sat on the floor, like we used to. No distance between us, yet a lifetime of questions still unspoken. He poured the wine, then looked at me. "Did he leave?" I nodded. His jaw clenched, but he said nothing. "I didn't ask him to." I said, "You didn't have to." The wine tasted like old summers and too many unsaid things. "I don't know what we're doing," I admitted. "I don't know how to trust this." Adrian leaned in. "Then let me show you." And when he kissed me this time, it wasn't desperate or rushed. It was slow, reverent, like he was rewriting every goodbye into a beginning. We made love on the hardwood floor, beneath the gallery lights that hadn't been turned off. It was soft. It was fire. It was two people finding the pieces they lost in each other's arms. And afterward, as I lay curled against him, heart pounding and exposed, he whispered, "Tell me this isn't just a moment." I turned to face him. "It's not." The days that followed were messy. The whispers came fast, friends asking questions, Aaron's sister showing up to return a sweater I'd left behind. Even my mother called after seeing a picture of Adrian and me online, asking, "Is this what you really want?" And the truth was, I didn't know how to answer. Because wanting Adrian had never been the problem. It was keeping him that terrified me. One night, we went back to the rooftop where everything started. He held my hand in silence as the wind tangled our hair. "You still haven't asked me to stay," he said quietly. "Because I'm scared." "Of what?" "That you'll leave. Again. That I'll love you like before and lose you all over." Adrian turned to me, eyes fierce. "Then let me say it, Lena. I'm not leaving, not this time. I lost you once. I nearly drowned in it." He reached for my hand, holding it like it was the only real thing left in the world. I know I don't deserve this, but I want to earn it every day. I want to wake up beside you and remind you why I came back. Tears slipped down my cheeks. Then stay, I whispered. Just stay. And for the first time in 7 years, we didn't say goodbye. But just when I thought the past had settled, a new truth surfaced. One that could ruin everything we just begun to rebuild. The next morning, I opened the gallery early, and there, it was an envelope, no stamp, just my name in Aaron's handwriting. Inside, a photo of Adrian smiling, shaking hands with Isabel, my former best friend. The time stamp, 6 months ago. On the back, ask him about Milan. The moment I saw Isabel's name, my chest cracked open. She was the one person I trusted during the years Adrian was gone. The one I confessed everything to, how much he haunted me, how much I wished he'd come back. And now, there she was, smiling beside him in Milan. 6 months ago, he had been back and hadn't come to find me. I called him, come to the gallery. Now, when Adrian walked in, the sun was setting behind him. Golden light, soft shadows, but nothing softened the chill in my voice. Do you remember Milan? I asked. His eyes widened. What? I tossed the photo on the table. He froze. Tell me the truth, Adrian. He walked slowly toward the photo, picked it up like it was something he didn't want to hold. It wasn't what you think. Oh, please. I snapped. You were back in Europe. You saw her. You had every chance to find me, and you didn't. I didn't know you were still here, he said, voice breaking. I thought you'd left Venice, gone back to the States. You found her. You could have found me. I didn't want to ruin your life again. I stepped back. You already did. The room pulsed with silence. He looked at me, then not with defense, not even guilt, just sorrow. Isabel told me you were happy, that you were engaged. I wasn't. She lied. Yes, I said. And you believed her instead of me. He reached for my hand, but I pulled away. You promised me, Adrian, you said if love ever found us again, you wouldn't run. I didn't run this time, no. I said, voice cracking. You hesitated. And that's worse. He lowered his head. I turned toward the window. Tears burned. My reflection blurred with memory. You weren't just a boy I loved in a different country. You were the future I built in my mind when everything else fell apart. And now, I don't even know if that future ever existed. Or if I just made it up. Double quotes. Adrian stood behind me. It existed, Lena. It still does. I'm not perfect, and I'll never pretend I am. But I love you, and I didn't come back to break you again. I came back to finally be the man who stays. I turned slowly. You saw Isabel 6 months ago, but you didn't come for me until now. Why? He stepped closer, eyes raw. Because I thought I lost you, that the window had closed. But when I walked into that gallery and saw your face, I realized I'd been wrong. That maybe I still had one last chance. I searched his face, and then I saw it. Not just regret, desperation. The kind that only comes from loving someone so deeply it destroys you not to have them. That night, I went to the rooftop alone. The air was thick. The city hummed quietly below. And I remembered Venice. The kiss. The promises. the heartbreak, the man who didn't come back when he said he would, but also the man who did eventually late. Broken, but honest. I closed my eyes. Then I heard footsteps. Adrian stood there, eyes on mine. I didn't know if I should come. I walked toward him. Neither did I. And when I reached him, I didn't speak. I kissed him, like the past was forgiving us in real time, like my soul had waited long enough. We stayed on the rooftop until sunrise. Talking about everything, the mistakes, the years, the pain, the longing. And slowly, love stopped being a memory and became something real again, something present. A month later, I reopened the gallery with a new exhibit. All portraits, all faceless. Titled, "What We Leave Behind When We Run." Adrian stood beside me during the opening, holding my hand, and every guest who walked in saw the last painting at the far wall, a new one. A woman and a man, not quite kissing, but close. So close, on the placard. What we never forgot, because the truth is some kisses don't fade, some love stories don't die, they just wait until we're brave enough to remember them.